Welcome back to Power Lunch. Donald Trump is continuing to lead the polls in the race for the 2024 Republican nominee for president. According to the latest New York Times Siena College poll, the former president has a 37-point lead over Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. DeSantis now struggling in more than just the polls. He's having a tough time fundraising as well. Let's turn to CNBC.com's Brian Schwartz. He's here with the details. What are you learning, Brian?
Time because right now there are filings becoming public that really reflect actually what the polls show, which are groups of very wealthy people are starting to shy away from Ron DeSantis and go toward other candidates. So these are filings that reflect super PAC money and PAC money. And we reported just before we came on your air that Nelson Peltz is giving big to a super PAC supporting Senator Tim Scott, as is Stanley Drunken Miller. Drunken Miller and a few other Wall Street executives are hosting Tim Scott in the Hamptons this coming month in August. And then there's some of the similar names who are also getting behind Chris Christie and his super PAC. That's a new filing just came out moments before I just came on air. These are some of the same kind of bigger, wealthier players, some on Wall Street, some elsewhere, are starting to kind of put their money and position themselves with candidates that not necessarily are Donald Trump, but they may not be Ron DeSantis either. Ron DeSantis has plenty of big money, but there's certainly big money donors who are kind of moving on from him right now. As the polls show, he's kind of struggling to get any traction against Donald Trump, as are the other candidates.
And where, by contrast, does former President Trump stand in terms of monies raised?
Well, right now, really Donald Trump's campaign, I'm pretty sure at the end of the second quarter raised the most out of the other candidates. I'm pretty confident that I have to look back at the numbers, but most of that money was from small dollar donors. It was not from kind of these wealthier financiers that we see supporting the other candidates, the Tim Scotts of the world, the Chris Christies of the world, and you name it, and others. And so, this is kind of how Donald Trump's going to play this game. Now, on the other hand, right, we've read that Donald Trump's leadership PAC has been spending $40+ million on some of his legal fees. So he's been raising money, that PAC that is, and the idea being that money's going toward his legal fees. And meanwhile, his campaign, a separate entity, is raising millions of dollars also from similar small dollars.
It's not really a surprise, should it be, that the financial establishment would be not raising money for Donald Trump. Donald Trump has campaigned forever, it seems to me, as an anti-establishment candidate, and therefore you would expect that probably his donor base would be small dollar donors.
Yeah, I think so. But there's another piece of this, right? Because when you look at what happened in 2020, we look at what happened in 2016, there were a growing group of Republican mega donors who did get close to Donald Trump and support him. And then what happened was January 6, 2021. And that was basically the end for many of them, as they said at the time. Now, does that mean they're jumping in and helping, all these candidates with millions and millions of dollars of checks? Not necessarily, right? But they're definitely not going back to help Trump, at least not right now. That could change down the road. And, again, it comes down to what do these guys really want to see of the Republican primary election? And I'm going to tell you right now, many of them do not want to see Donald Trump become the GOP nominee and then become president.
Why has DeSantis lost whatever traction he had, if he ever had it?
Well, I think that, he came into this race with a lot of fanfare, right? I mean, remember that. There was this whole buildup to him coming into this race. And then, look, he launched his campaign. And I think people just, if you look at the polls, it reflects that a growing group of the GOP primary voters, it just hasn't gotten a lot of traction yet with that key voting bloc. And I think that's really important, right? Because, again, DeSantis and these other candidates have to appeal to those primary voters. And when you look at the New York Times poll, it just suggests that some of the things he's been pushing out there, including these culture wars against corporate America, may not be gaining enough traction for him to rise up in the polls against Donald Trump. Sure, there might be some GOP primary voters who support this. Of course there are. But is it enough to really position himself versus Trump and overtake him, which is what some, by the way, wealthy donors hoped he was going to do? Not as of today, according to the polling.